Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning. How are we all doing today? I hope you have all had a good start to your day if it's around midday for you. I hope you had a good night's rest if it's 7 a.m. It's been a very hectic morning for me over here, so I'm very, very excited to just come back to my body, come back to my breath, and settle into some mindful movement with you guys today. So yesterday we were looking at ahimsa and non-harm, the concept of not harming others, which is the first yamas. So I was explaining to you guys yesterday that there are 8 limbs of yoga. So the physical stretching, that's one limb, and there's 7 others. Some of them are to do with behavior, some of them are to do with breath work, some of them are to do with contemplation. But the aim of all of them is to bring you closer to union with God or whatever you believe in. So as Muslims, we can use this path to help us get closer to Allah, and it's all about intention. So yesterday we were looking at ahimsa, which is non-harm, and how we can practice kindness and stop ourselves from harming others and ourselves with our actions and our words. So today we're looking at the second yamas, which is satya, or truthfulness. So the yamas, the first limb of yoga, these are the things that we want to avoid and how we treat other people. So the first one, we're avoiding harm. The second one, we're avoiding lying. So I feel like as Muslims, this is a pretty standard concept, this concept of being honest and not lying. And we can take this through various different parts of our lives. We've got our social interactions, our business interactions, our family interactions, and our interactions with ourselves. So honesty has layers to it, and we'll explore that as we go through today's class. So firstly, honesty begins with self-awareness. So we're going to start with some breath work that will promote that self-awareness, that will bring us back to ourselves, back to our bodies. And then we will go through this flow with empathy, compassion, and humility for our bodies. We're going to be honest with ourselves about what we are able to do today, regardless of what we want to do today. And yeah, we're just going to build that inner peace, awareness, and trust with ourselves through honesty. So if we're going to start our class today, I'd like you to come with the soles of your feet together, and then you can shuffle your hips down, come back onto your forearms, and we're going to come to a reclined bound angle pose. So here we might already notice some discomfort in the hip joints. We might feel that gravity is quite harsh on our hips, especially in the morning after we've had a whole night of resting and staying still. So just noticing what comes up as we first start to recline. Noticing any feelings of frustration or resistance, and just acknowledging them, not trying to change them. Just being with the breath. You might now notice that your hips aren't getting any more comfortable, and if that's the case, we might lift the knees up slightly. We might place some pillows or some blankets underneath the knees to give them something to rest on. But we're going to be honest with ourselves about how we feel this morning, and not let gravity cause us to feel any more discomfort than we need to. So I'm going to take you through some different postures today and some different variations so that you can explore some play and be honest with yourself about what your body wants today. So you might be quite an advanced practitioner. You might want to go quite far today with your practice and see some progress, but your body might want rest. It might want something slower. It might want you to pull back. You might be a beginner who doesn't tend to push themselves too far, which is absolutely fine. But today you might notice your body wants a little bit more of a challenge, so we can honor that. And then just slowly bringing the knees up to the sky so the feet are planted. We're just going to take some breaths here. And as we breathe, I'm going to try and guide you through a type of breath work known as Ujjayi breath. And this is translated as ocean breath because it sounds like the waves of an ocean. And Ujjayi breath is very, very, very good at grounding you, bringing you back to the present moment and giving you more awareness in your body. So it's a good one to tap into if you're in a yoga pose that requires balance or it's building a lot of fire and you're struggling to hold it. This is excellent to come back to. So what you're going to do is imagine you've got a glass window in front of you, and you know when you go to mist up the glass, you're making that sound, but by breathing out of your nose. So I'll do it for you so you can kind of hear the sound that I want you to be making. But as you breathe out, you're kind of squeezing your throat slightly, but not constricting the air completely. So it's breathing like, so it's a visible, audible exhale. And then once you kind of start to get that feeling of what it feels like to slightly constrict your throat, you can do it on the inhale too. So as if you were, but with your mouth closed. So it's coming from the same part of the throat. So as you inhale, close the mouth, squeeze your throat, and then exhale with the same sound. So it's a very audible breathing, and you can make it as loud or as quiet as you want to, but you will also find that if something's more challenging, the breathing will get louder. So we'll just practice a few rounds of this breath together. Inhaling as you constrict the throat slightly. And exhaling with that same constriction. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. It's quite a strange sensation when you first try it because you're breathing as if you were breathing out of your mouth, but your mouth's closed and it's coming out of your nose. And you'll find that the more you do it, the easier the breath comes. So we can practice as we go through the flow today. I'd like you to try and tap into this Ujjayi breath as much as you can and see if it makes a difference in your practice. So today I will be using a couple of blocks. If you don't have any blocks, you can use pillows, you can use books, you can use really anything that is tall enough and sturdy enough for you to rest body parts on. So you don't need the props at all. I'm just going to show you ways that you can maybe get into poses you haven't been able to get into before. So we're going to start in a seated position with the legs extended out in front of you. And we're going to have blocks on either side of the feet, just so we've got somewhere to rest our hands if we need to. So taking the right knee into the body and then turning the knee out to the side so the foot is on the inside of the left thigh. Inhale to straighten the spine and exhale to walk the hands down onto the blocks. And remember, we're being honest with ourselves today. We're not pushing ourselves to comfort. if that's not what our body is calling for today, we're meeting ourselves where we are and we're having compassion. You also have to remember that the flexibility comes with time. So when I first started my practice, my folds were up here. I couldn't even get my stomach down onto my thighs. So I understand the difficulty and the frustration of looking at a shape and not being able to make it and feeling inadequate. But this is where your relationship with your body comes in as you learn what you're capable of and become more appreciative of what you're capable of. And the more gratitude you have for that, the more progress you will see. Progress doesn't come from hating your body. And then on the next exhale, maybe seeing if we can move the hands down off the blocks and come down a little bit further. Inhale to walk the hands back up, and then placing the right hand behind you with the fingers facing away from your body. You're going to bring your hips up and lean all of your weight into your right shin. So you're coming up into this kind of side plank thing. Your left arm comes up overhead, and you're really pushing up with your hips to come up to the sky. Exhale to lower the arm, lower the hand, come back down. And then we'll switch the legs. So extend the right leg in front of you. The left foot comes into the right thigh. And then we're going to fold over that right leg. So inhaling to straighten the spine, exhaling to come down. Using the props here, using anything you need to make it that bit easier this morning. And then maybe coming off of the blocks if you have a prop, seeing if you can come a little bit deeper, but also noticing if coming that deeper restricts your breath, then we're going to pull back a little bit because we don't want to get further into a pose at the expense of the breath, because that's when things start to go a bit wrong. Inhale to come back up to a straight spine. This time the left hand comes behind you, turn to face the left, push the hips up, coming onto the left shin, pressing into the right foot as you straighten your right leg, and then the right arm comes up overhead. Really pushing forward with your hips here so you feel a nice stretch along the front body. Exhale to lower the hips back down. And then bringing both feet in front of you, we're going to come up into our Malasana. So I'm going to show you a very gentle variation of this with a block. So if you have a block, a book, a pillow, anything, you're going to come into that wide-legged stance with your toes facing out, and you're going to lower your sit bones so you're sat on the block like this. And this is just a very, very gentle introduction into Malasana. It allows you to really straighten the spine, push open the hips as much as you can without that struggle with the balance or the flexibility. So if your hands still need to come onto the floor, that's absolutely fine. But you might find that you can bring your hands up to your chest and use your elbows to start pushing the knees away from you. And we're just going to take a few breaths here. You might also rest your arms on the knees. Just straightening through the spine, connecting to the breath, creating a nice long line from the top of your head all the way down to your sit bones. And then Releasing the right hand down in front of the right foot if you can. If not, just letting it hover here is absolutely fine. Extend that left arm up to the sky. So really opening across the left-hand side of the body. Dropping both hands, we're going to fold slightly. So really send your head down, but keep your legs nice and strong and your hips nice and raised. Inhale to come back up. Drop the left hand in front of the left foot, or just hover it there. And then extend the right arm up overhead into this side bend on the other side. Hands will come back down. And then we're just going to remove that block and come all the way back down into our seated position. So from here, we're going to place the hands behind us. And there's two options for this one. So bending the knees with your feet hip width distance apart, and then your hands underneath your shoulders. We're gonna inhale, and as we inhale, push the hips up to the sky and create a straight line with the body. Don't throw the head back and crunch the neck. Try and keep the neck nice and elongated. Squeeze the glutes. And breathe in here, and then lower yourself down. Just wiggle the shoulders slightly here, and then we can either take that variation again, or we're going to extend the legs this time and then push up. So this is a more advanced variation in terms of leg strength. So if you felt like you didn't have the strength for the last one, we'll build up more strength with that one. If the last one felt easy, let's try this one. So hands are in the same place, fingers facing towards your toes. And then you're going to inhale, squeeze your glutes together, squeeze your inner thighs together, push into the big toes. Nice deep breath. And lower yourself back down. Very good. Just lengthening through the spine. Just walk the hands slightly down your legs, just folding gently. Good. And then crossing over the feet, coming onto the knees. And we're in our tabletop now, so keeping a nice straight back. Hips are over your knees, shoulders are over your wrists. Lifting the left leg and then pulling up through the core. This might be enough of a challenge for your balance. If you're finding this relatively easy, you can come up on those right fingertips and then lift the right arm. So we're in a nice long straight line. You might exhale and bring that knee to your elbow, crunching yourself in. Inhale to elongate. Exhale to squeeze. Inhale to elongate. One more crunch here. Inhale and exhale. Good. Now, if this balance is enough for you, you can stay like this. We might also be able to play about with bending that left leg, bringing the foot in towards the glutes, and then bringing that right arm behind us and maybe grabbing that foot. If your foot goes into your hand nicely, push the foot into the hand, lift that leg all the way up as much as you can, open up through the chest and gaze forward. And remember, we're meeting our bodies where they are today. So if your body does not want to go into that shape, that is absolutely fine. We have lots of other variations. My plant is getting kicked today, guys. Okay, lowering both arms back down, and then we'll come onto the other side. So extend the right leg, sorry, and the left arm. Finding your balance, finding your stability. Exhale to bring your knee to nose. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, extend. And last one, squeezing in. Extending out. And again, we can just hold this one here, or you can bend that right leg, turn back with the left arm, and push the foot into the hand as you open up the chest. Exhale to lower the hand and the knee back down. Bring your knees as wide as they'll go, wider than your hips. Your big toes come to touch. Sink the hips back down. Extend the arms out in front of you. And let's just release into our child's pose. Taking a little midpoint assessment of how our bodies feel. If you feel like so far you have been honest with yourself about what you have been needing today, just noticing if maybe you could challenge yourself a little bit more, or be a little bit kinder and a little bit gentler to yourself and just pull it back. We don't always need to be striving for more, especially in our physical practice. The days where we scale it back, the days where we rest, are sometimes where we make the most progress. So just checking in with yourself at this point. Being honest with yourself about how honest you have been so far. And then either staying in your child's pose or coming up into your down dog. If you are up into your down dog, you can bend one knee at a time, straightening into your hamstrings. Just feeling into that down dog. And then grounding down through your heels. Engage both of the legs and start to walk the hands all the way back. So we're going to use our blocks again here. If you don't have them, you can just place your arms wherever. This just basically brings the ground to you. So it makes it a little bit easier if you can't touch the floor. But if you don't have the blocks, you can just rest your hands wherever they come to on your leg. It's absolutely fine. So just taking some forward folds here. Hands are on the block. You can see we have a straight back and straight legs here. This is our half lift. So taking a deep breath here. Really straightening through the spine. Shoulders are out of the ears. And then as you exhale, bring a bit of a bend into the knees, drop the stomach to the thighs. You might be able to bring the blocks down slightly as your body gets closer to the ground. And then let the head hang heavy. Bringing the hands behind your back, interlace the fingers, and then pull those fists away from you. So eventually trying to get the arms all the way over here, but we're taking them wherever they land. So if your chest isn't very open this morning, your hands are still very close to your back, that's fine. Just focus more on getting your head down. So we're really letting everything of the upper body become very heavy. Exhale to release your hands, drop them down wherever they come, whether it's on your legs or the mat or your blocks. And then we're going to slowly start to lift, but vertebrae by vertebrae. So as you inhale, imagine your spine is straightening one chain at a time, slowly, 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 all the way up to standing. And then coming to the top of your mat, we're going to take a tree pose here. So grounding down through the left foot, your right knee is going to come up into your chest, and then wherever the foot lands, so you can use your hand to bring it right up here to the top of your thigh, or you can, wherever it rests on your leg, you can have it on the inside of your knee, the inside of your shin, resting still on the mat, so your toes are still on the mat, but we're opening up the hips slightly, and you've got a little bit of a balance to play with. So finding your variation of tree. Hands can either stay on your hips, they can be out to the side, they can be at your heart center, or they can be up overhead. On your next exhale, bring your knee back into your chest and then send it really slowly. So we're trying to keep our balance. We're sending that foot all the way to the back of the mat, coming into a warrior two. So the back foot lands with the toes facing the long edge of the mat. Keep a nice deep bend in the front knee. Turn your hips to face the long edge of the mat. Extend the arms out to a T. And take a nice deep breath here in our warrior two. Then bringing the hands to heart center into our prayer, we're going to fold. So turn to face the front knee and fold your torso down. Maybe your hands can come down to the mat, but we're squeezing our bodies onto our thigh here. And then turning completely to face the front of the mat, we're going to come into a couple of balancing postures here. So you can do this up against a wall if your balance is a little bit tricky. You can also play about with doing this by a chair, but if we don't have any of those props and you are just doing the balancing on its own, I want you to have fun with it. It doesn't need to be serious. If we fall, we fall. We're going to be honest with ourselves and just see what happens, you know? So bring your hands to your heart center, ground down through that left standing leg, and then also at the same time, really squeeze the thigh of your right leg. And then lift that back foot, coming up into our warrior three. Hands can stay at the heart center. You can also keep them on the mat and then try and lift them as you find your balance. But really try and keep a straight line with your body. And then staying in your warrior two, you might need your warrior three, sorry, you might need a block for this one. What we're going to do is lower that left hand down. So it can either come to the mat, which is a little bit trickier, or it can come to a block or something. So we've got a little bit higher up. That back leg is going to stay straight and extended. And then the right arm is going to come up to the sky. And this is where the balance is. This is the tricky part. Stacking everything up without falling. So let's just see what our bodies are capable of today. You never know. Some days your balance is better than others. Some days you might be able to hold this pose. Other days you might not even be able to get anywhere near it. And that is absolutely fine. So we'll do the same on the other side. So coming back up to the top of the mat. And we'll find our tree pose on the other side. So wherever you rested your foot last time, find the same spot on your right leg. Hands come to the same position as last time. And then just pick a spot to focus on with your gaze. Something that's not moving, something in front of you. And then we're exhaling to send the left foot all the way back into our warrior two. So the foot is facing the long edge, nice deep bend in the front knee, square your hips, tuck your pelvis, and then extend the arms out. We're staring over the middle finger of the right hand. And then bringing your hands to heart center, folding down over your thigh. And then we're going to find our warrior three again. So if balance is harder for you, you can bring your hands down to the mat first, turn to face the front, and then lift that back leg. And then maybe play about with lifting up the hands. Or you can just come straight from your lunge into your warrior three. We're keeping the core and the torso nice and strong. Hips are squared to the mat. Nice long line with the body. And then we're going to come into that half moon variation again. So if you have a block, if you don't have anything, we're dropping that right hand down. You might want to stay up on the fingertips because to come down in the hand means you need more flexibility. So staying up on the fingers, the back leg is strong, engaged, straightened out to the back of the room. And then the left hand comes all the way up, fingertips up to the sky. Keep your gaze fixed on one point that's not moving. And then exhale, bring that left hand down, bring the left leg down. Slowly, slowly, slowly bend the knees, come up onto the tiptoes, and then release yourself all the way down to the mat. We're going to come into one final position that's going to test the core, test your strength. Bringing the legs up, feet are facing away from you, the shins are parallel with the mat. And then extend the arms out, palms facing up. And you might be able to extend the legs, pointing the feet all the way up to the sky. If not, keep a nice bend. And then lowering the feet, coming into a cross-legged position. Taking a nice deep breath here. Right hand comes onto left knee, twisting open to the left. Inhale back to center, left hand comes to right knee, twisting to the right. Inhale to come back to center, and then we're going to come all the way down onto our backs. Bringing the right knee into the body, placing the outer edge of the right foot on the left thigh, and then pull that left knee in towards you. And then switcheroo, we put the left foot on top of the right knee, pull the right knee into the body. Good, and then dropping both feet down to the mat, taking your feet as wide as the mat goes, and then just dropping both knees to the right. Inhale them back up, exhale, drop them to the left. Inhale back up, exhale to the right, inhale up and exhale to the left. And then you can extend the legs out as long as they'll go. Drop the hands down next to the body, palms facing up. Just taking a few gentle breaths in this final resting pose, Shavasana. So just assessing how we feel after the practice, assessing how our body feels. And thinking about how honest we've been with ourselves today about what we have been capable of. So just in these last few moments, reminding ourselves of the importance of honesty. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, his life was a timeless example of honesty. And there's the hadith that says, upon you is truthfulness. Indeed, truthfulness leads to righteousness, and righteousness leads to paradise. So not only is honesty good for our relationships with others, our relationship with ourselves, it is vital for our relationship with Allah. Honesty is a pathway to spiritual purity and can provide inner peace. It's not just actions like meditation and breath work that help us become more spiritual people. It is our behavior that impacts this inner peace. And we know about this through sunnah, through the sunnah actions of the Prophet in Islam. And that's why when we use these other practices like yoga, we can take the aspects of it that align with Islam and utilize them to connect us deeper to Allah, to the way of life of Islam. And you maybe noticed during this practice how there was an overlap between the topic that we covered today, which was truthfulness, and the topic we did yesterday, which was ahimsa, non-harm. Because in order to prevent harm, we have to be honest. So just taking some last few breaths here. And as we breathe, we're maybe connecting back to that ujjayi breath from the start of the practice. We're constricting our throat slightly, controlling the intake of oxygen, and maybe just thinking about Allah's name, Al-Muhaymin, the guardian, the witness, the overseer. And this can remind us that even if we choose to be untruthful, there are consequences. But it can also remind us that if we have been cheated to or lied to, that there is a witness. It can bring comfort in times where harm has happened to us because we know it's for a bigger purpose. So taking one last big, deep inhale all the way into the stomach, let everything expand, then sigh out through the mouth. And I'll read us a Quran verse to end the practice today. Nurturing humility and avoiding arrogance. So the verse is, and do not turn your cheek in contempt towards people, and do not walk through the earth exultantly. Indeed, Allah does not like everyone self-deluded and boastful. How does this verse guide you in maintaining humility and avoiding arrogance in actions with others? So thinking about humility, self-awareness, truthfulness, and carrying that with us through the rest of our day. So thank you so much for joining me this morning, everyone. It's been lovely to take you through this class today. Tomorrow, we will be going through another yama or type of behavior that we want to try and avoid. And we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have 3 more of those. So inshallah, I will see you tomorrow for that class. I hope you have a good rest of your day. and take care, everyone.